This is for the Maroons in the Blue Mountains of Jamaica. This is for all my Native American Moors of Turtle Island just minding their business in Canada until all this colonization bullshit. Ronnie! My bad, Auntie.
Chill, this is for now.
It's Mike Ross, also known as Mike on the Mic, the nation's sexiest comedian, the nation's #1 side nigga, and the nation's only stripper comedian. Ladies, I'll be touring and I'll be live in a city near you. Make sure you're in the building. Make sure you purchase your tickets. Don't miss out on another amazing sold-out show as always. Looking forward to seeing you there.
Weekend, man. The brother of Yo Gotti, he was killed. We're going to talk about that and some new developments surrounding that case. Also, Diddy, Sean Combs Diddy has come to a settlement with his ex-liquor company. He's no longer the owner of Surratt and DeLeon. So we'll talk about that. And a couple other things we'll talk about today. But let's start off with out in Memphis. We all got the tragic news that Yo Gotti's big brother was gunned down after leaving the funeral service. Everybody's seen the footage. If not, you'll see it here where he was just leaving the service. Yo Gotti was with him, and his mother had just got out of the vehicle right before he was gunned down. Shot, I think, either 10 or more than 10 times. Died before he got to the hospital. Not surprised. I know when I say not surprised, when I look at Memphis, man, it's a war zone here on earth. It's Iraq in the United States. It's Afghanistan in the United States. But ongoing war, brother killed. What's your thoughts?
It's bad, man. It's bad. We've had Judge Joe Brown on a few times, and obviously he's very connected to Memphis. And he spares no expenses on what's going on out there and the violence and the just the rage that's going on amongst our people out there. Now, we're not directly connected to Memphis by any stretch of the imagination, hundreds of miles away, in fact. But when you look at this situation, and just to be as respectful as possible, this definitely looks like an ongoing, brewing type of tension that stems from Dolph's murder, in my opinion. Now, we can't link anything, us here. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, we got our ears and eyes to what's going on out there, and you hear a lot of conversations stemming towards a retaliation type thing. And then when you look at the way it occurred and the level of it and the type of vitriol, when you look at the people around him in that situation and the amount of bullets that went into that man as he passed away, and then you look at some of the commentary that's starting to float around about his reaction to Dolph and little things like that, it just makes you go, man, that situation is deeper than we even thought back a couple years ago when he unfortunately passed away, and tensions are still high out there. We heard when Dolph passed away that they were going to light that city up, and we've been hearing since his passing that they've been lighting that city up. So very scary, very unfortunate. Like I said, I think it's deeper than what we know, and the violence in that situation has a lot more onions to peel back. But as far as the violence is concerned in Memphis, you talked about it being Iraq and Afghanistan, and how many times, oh God, throughout the years of even doing this, have we just coined a new city in America, the new Afghanistan or Iraq? You talk about Chicago, you talk about L.A., you talk about Memphis, you talk about Newark. You know what I mean? We got every major city in America that we can look at through state to state has an Iraq in it, and that's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my thoughts on it right now. What's your thoughts, bro?
And unfortunately, this is happening in all cities. It's big, small, major, large, all over the world. But we'll deal with the U.S. right now. And you're seeing these type of, I guess, retaliation, which we don't know if it was really retaliation, but we're seeing that, somebody kill your cousin, you kill their brother. And then the cycle keeps going on and on and on, whether it be a gang or just a group of people. Oh, so-and-so killed it. Why we getting that get back? Yeah. And they doing it, and it's happening over and over. So another thing is like when I was doing a live stream the other day, a couple individuals were saying that the crime was higher in the 90s and the 80s, and it's true.
In Memphis or in general?
In general, in a lot of different cities, not specifically Memphis, but in a lot of different cities, it's not like it's higher now. We just start, social media is around and stuff like that. But either way, it's a problem. Yeah. I'm not trying to minimize the fact that it's a problem, but I don't have the answers to it. I could give you some solutions that I think that may work, but if I could say, like, I'm not like, I could say like I'm Judge Joe Brown. I can go in there and give you the immediate answers to fix this shit.
Right.
I really don't know. I do know that it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of years and a lot of effort to do so. But all I say is, people, all you could do is individually make sure that you raise your kids, where they're not going to take anybody else's life. And hopefully the next person up the street is raising their kid. If my kid and his kid have a dispute, they can settle a dispute without picking up knives and guns. That's all we can hope for at this point, because a lot of these people, they're raising, kids, they raising damn demons. And you got to make sure your kids is ready to deal with these kids out on the street. Something can happen. Now somebody want to kill your kid. Yeah. And you want to make sure your kid don't kill somebody else's kid. That's how real it's getting them. When I mean kid, a lot of these times people are 14, 15 years old picking up guns.
Yeah. And allowed to.
Yeah. So again, just starting your own household. If you could try to be a mentor to some young kids in whatever capacity. I'm not saying, you got to be, a youth counselor or nothing like that, but in any capacity, whether it could be a nephew or, a kid up the street, anything, just try to, impact that kid's life. Because at the end of the day, I just think that this shit, our culture, in particular, black culture, has turned into deaf culture. Even taking hip hop out of it, like we ain't got to even put hip hop in it.
Yeah.
It's turned to a straight deaf culture in a lot of these neighborhoods, and it's really sad to see.
It's funny you brought up hip hop, because I was going to ask you a question in relation to hip hop, and I'm not trying to throw any unnecessary strays at people that have nothing to do with the situation.
Right.
But we've seen a number of rappers come out and speak out against the violence in Memphis. Rick Ross just received a key to a city in Miami, and one of the things that he talked about was stopping the violence in Memphis and putting the masks down. Obviously them shiesty masks that was very popular, as he sits in prison right now.
Right.
For a little while longer. Does hip hop in this situation hold a little accountability, not necessarily in the murder of Yo Gotti's brother, but in the situation of the violence and the chaos that we see, in particular in Memphis right now in this situation? Do you feel like hip hop holds a level of accountability when it comes to the messaging, and even some of the people that are talking out against it, the messaging that they still portray in their lyrics? Do they hold some type of accountability when we see these type of tragedies?
I think it's a little hypocritical if you're talking about killing and your songs and shit like that, and then glorifying it, and then you're telling people to stop killing.
Yeah.
I think that could definitely be a little hypocritical. But these guys, and I would hate to tell anybody what to do with their money, but other races of people, they actually invest back into their neighborhoods, and they make sure, with the type of investments that they make, that their kids are good, education, their community centers, there's different opportunities, for their kids to succeed rather than fail. Yeah. I'm not saying that's all, some of us do, and some rappers do, but the ones that don't, you got to try to make a difference in your own city. If you a multi 20, 30, 40 millionaire, what are you doing in Miami? He may be doing shit in Miami, I don't know. Yeah, but maybe you could start with like a some type of a center or something where kids could go and do different things. They could have, basketball, football, tennis, but maybe some trade programs. Maybe a kid want to be an auto mechanic. Maybe a kid want to be a carpenter. Something, you know what I mean? You can't, Rick Ross or two rappers can't solve the problem, but you can lessen the load. I know some kids growing up, if they would have had different outlets, because sometimes you play football season's over, what you going to do? You know what I mean? So what if you got football, you got basketball, you got baseball, you got a trade program, you got this and that. You ain't got time to be in the streets. Yeah. You're going to be too damn tired, too bogged down with what's going on. You know what I mean? And then in that same fact, a lot of this shit comes from economics. Mm-hmm. A lot of these guys out in the street, because they trying to make a living, $1, $1. Yeah. And they come from unfortunate circumstances where it's not a lot of money. They come from drug households and shit like that. So they got to try to make a dime. And I guarantee you, a lot of them dudes don't want to be drug dealers and shit like that. It's just they're adapting to their environment. Yeah. So the older cats, the people that got the money, got to try to do something to change that, in my opinion, or it's never going to change. We already know the government is not going to facilitate that change. So it got to be the dudes that's the wealthy guys in the neighborhoods and the guys that come, even the drug dealers. Yeah. You know what I mean? Reinvest that shit and try to build it up. So that's just a small part of it, obviously. As far as hip hop, hell yeah. I think you could definitely put, on hip hop shoulders, because look at the message that's going out in a lot of these neighborhoods, a lot of these songs, and who are the youth looking up to in a lot of these cases. So yeah, definitely.
It's scary, man. Because I don't know. If I lived in Memphis, my 14 and 15-year-olds, he would definitely learn how to shoot. I mean, not that they don't know now, but at the end of the
Right.
day, it's like it's survival, and it's a shame it even has to be like that, man. But it's the reality in the world that we live in, and these conversations need to happen. But these single conversations aren't going to
So
change
what
anything.
like so for people, so I want to say real quick,
Yeah.
let's just imagine for the people out there, right, that your kid grew up in Kosovo or you grew up in Iraq. I'm talking about war Iraq.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think they're gonna adapt to? Like in Iraq, at a point in time in Afghanistan, you had little kids with AK-47s.
Ready to die.
Learn. That's what I'm saying. So what they go? So it's like it's the same thing, it's just on American soil.
Yeah.
And we got the illusion here that everything is peach, everything is clean, but it's really not. It's a lot of war zones here.
Yeah.
You know, so that's all I got to say on that, man.
Yeah, man. Rest in peace to all the families involved in unnecessarily violence, and rest in peace to all the people that got in victim of unnecessarily violence and the families involved. And we'll keep talking, man. We'll keep doing what we got to do to speak out against it. But we definitely need some change, bro.
Yeah,
to distribute money illegally under the table, allegedly. And it is what it is. And Memphis is once again missing out on its opportunity to be one of the biggest cities in America, one of the greatest. And some people have gotten a little chump change under the table. So it is going to work itself out. Meanwhile, I'm still dealing with the people out in the streets trying to bring safety to them, but that's got nothing to do with anything else. But yeah, that punk move that went on within the city. Two of the major mainstream television stations were putting somebody else's picture up there as me. And there is this guy who's quite ill, and he's a personal friend, so I won't badmouth him.
Yeah.
He held a position as a city councilman, so they were putting his picture up as me, even though he has the same name. It's quite common, Joe Brown, Joe Blow, G.I. Joe, and all that other stuff. But, be careful what you ask for. You just might. What kind of rating are we? RX or what here?
You do your thing, Judge.
uncensored.
Be careful what the fuck you ask for. You just might get it.
So talk about, obviously there's some corruption going on. How long has it been going on?
Yeah, Memphis is probably the most corrupt large city in the United States.
Heard that.
The gangsters out in the streets, they say, hey, we're tired of the killing, but what can we do? There's no power structure, police, city hall, anything in here. Everything's just do what you can, steal what you can. And if the people at the top are doing it, people at the bottom will do it too. So the youngsters are going out killing folk, and we just became the murder capital of the United States, where our total homicide rate so far this year is about equal to the combined homicide totals for LA and New York.
Wow.
So it's bad. It's a lot of killing going on because there's hopelessness out there. And now we have a leftist district attorney who needed to replace the corrupt idiot on the right, a woman who was held to be probably America's most corrupt district attorney. And he fired a lot of the staff, and he's off into this defund police bit. So somebody I know, president of a local black HBCU, a black university, got held up at gunpoint, armed robbery, and his car hijacked a Porsche. And they caught the juvenile in the vehicle. They have a brief chase that they have on record. They got him, they caught him, booked him, and then were directed to let him go without having to post bond. So,
wow.
There are allegations, but that's not how it works in real life. So, that's what you get. The criminal court judges are complaining that the DA's office fired so many people that knew how to little bit try a case. Now they can't do any trial work. Criminal court's been jacked around for a year because of that, as a result of the personnel changes, which were needed, but the selections for the replacement, they didn't have it up here about how to do these cases. So now the other side is blaming the judges, and everybody's going at everybody's throat. Nobody's getting a goddamn thing done except bullshit. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Unless you have a specific question, you know.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Bullshit and all this other kind of shit all day long.
Yeah.